It was an ordinary day in the bustling school cafeteria, with the clatter of trays and the hum of students chatting filling the air. But what unfolded next would leave everyone in shock. A young girl, quiet and polite, stood nervously in line. She seemed hesitant, her tray held tightly in her small hands. She didn't stand out much, just another student trying to get through the day. But little did anyone know, she was about to become the center of a storm that would change everything. As she reached the front of the line, something unexpected happened. The cafeteria worker, already frustrated from dealing with a hectic lunch rush, snapped. A misunderstanding escalated, and in the heat of the moment, the worker threw food at the girl. Gasps echoed through the cafeteria as everyone froze, watching the scene unfold. The girl, now covered in food, stood there stunned, her wide eyes holding back tears. It was an act that no one could justify, a moment of anger directed at someone who didn't deserve it. What the cafeteria worker didn't know was that this little girl wasn't just anyone. Her father, a man of incredible influence and respect, would soon hear about the incident, and when he did, the fallout would be unlike anything the school had ever seen. But who was her father? And how would he react to this blatant act of humiliation toward his daughter? Stay tuned as we unravel this gripping story of justice, consequences, and the unexpected twist that left everyone in the cafeteria questioning their actions. What started as a simple lunchtime dispute was about to reveal the true power of standing up for what's right. Don't miss the rest of his incredible story. You'll want to see how it all unfolds. The cafeteria fell silent after the shocking incident. The girl, still standing in her stained uniform, tried to hold her composure as whispers started spreading among the students. Some kids laughed nervously, while others looked on in disbelief. She quietly set her tray down, her small hands trembling, and walked away from the scene without saying a word. The worker, who had acted out of frustration, seemed to realize the gravity of what had just happened. But instead of apologizing, she muttered something under her breath and carried on serving the next student in line, as if nothing had happened. The girl's classmates, who knew her to be kind and soft-spoken, exchanged worried glances. Who could she possibly tell about what just happened? She was the kind of student who rarely drew attention to herself, someone who preferred to stay out of trouble. But one of the onlookers, a teacher who had been supervising lunch, sensed that this incident couldn't be ignored. They stepped away from the chaos to make a phone call, unsure of what kind of response would follow. Meanwhile, the girl slipped into the school hallway, wiping at the food stains on her uniform. She sat quietly by herself, her mind racing. Should she just let it go and move on, or should she say something? Deep down, she knew this wasn't just about her. It was about something bigger. No one deserved to be treated this way. At that moment, far from the school, her father's phone rang. He was in the middle of a meeting, a man of stature and calm authority. But as soon as he heard the details of what had happened, his demeanor shifted. "I'll handle this personally," he said, his voice steady but firm. The wheels were now in motion, though no one at the school had any idea what was coming. The school day continued, but the cafeteria incident lingered in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. Whispers spread through the hallways, growing with every retelling. Some students said the cafeteria worker had been under stress for weeks, while others argued there was no excuse for her actions. Teachers tried to maintain order, but even they couldn't ignore the tension in the air. Meanwhile, the girl remained quiet, attending her classes as if nothing had happened, though her classmates could see the sadness in her eyes. In the principal's office, the staff was already scrambling. The teacher who had witnessed the incident reported it, describing the humiliation the girl had faced. The principal, unsure of how to handle the situation, hesitated. This wasn't the first complaint about that particular cafeteria worker, but it was the most serious one yet. Still, the principal didn't want to act too quickly, worried about backlash. "Let's gather more details," they said, stalling for time. But they had no idea the situation was about to escalate far beyond the school's control. Back at home, the girl's father was already making calls. Though calm on the surface, he was deeply hurt by what his daughter had endured. He wasn't just an ordinary parent. He was someone who commanded attention and respect in the community, a figure whose presence alone could shift the balance of power. He didn't make threats or demands. Instead, he quietly started gathering facts, ensuring that every detail of the incident was accurate and undeniable. At the same time, the cafeteria worker, unaware of who the girl's father was, continued her day as usual. But deep down, she felt uneasy. There was something about the girl's calm reaction that stuck with her, a silence that seemed to speak volumes. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a terrible mistake, one that might come back to haunt her. Yet, for now, she'd brushed it off, convincing herself it would all blow over. But it wouldn't. Unseen forces were already at play, and the consequences of that moment in the cafeteria were about to ripple through the lives of everyone involved. The question wasn't if. As the final school bell rang, the girl quietly gathered her things and headed home. She had managed to hold herself together all day, but her emotions finally began to surface as she walked through the front door. Her father was waiting, his expression calm but his eyes filled with concern. She hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to start. But the look on his face told her everything she needed to know. He already knew. "Tell me everything," he said gently, sitting her down at the kitchen table. At first, her voice trembled as she recounted the humiliation she had faced in the cafeteria. But as she spoke, her confidence grew, and she explained how unfair it had all felt. Her father listened intently, not interrupting once. When she finished, he placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did nothing wrong," he said firmly. "This will be dealt with." Meanwhile, back at the school, rumors about the girl's father began to spread. Some of the staff overheard whispers from students claiming that he was someone important, someone powerful. The cafeteria worker started feeling uneasy as those whispers reached her. She tried to brush them off, but doubt gnawed at her. What if this incident wasn't just another complaint that would fade away? What if she had crossed the wrong line? That evening, the girl's father made a quiet but impactful move. He reached out to the school board, explaining the situation in detail. His calm and composed manner made it clear that this wasn't a simple parent complaint. It was a serious matter that needed immediate attention. The board, realizing who he was, scrambled to take the issue seriously. Calls were made, meetings were scheduled, and the school administration found itself under pressure like never before. The next morning, the atmosphere at the school was tense. The principal received notice that an unexpected visitor would be arriving later that day, and the staff couldn't stop speculating. The cafeteria worker, feeling the weight of her actions, began to regret not apologizing immediately. Students exchanged excited whispers, sensing that something big was about to happen. But no one, neither the students, the staff, nor the cafeteria worker, was prepared for what was coming. The stage was set for a confrontation that would leave everyone questioning their actions and values. As the school day began, a quiet tension filled the air. Students whispered in corners, speculating about the unexpected visitor who was rumored to be coming. The staff scrambled to prepare, unsure of what to expect. Meanwhile, the cafeteria worker grew more anxious with each passing hour. She had started replaying the moment over and over in her head, wondering how something so small had escalated into what now felt like an uncontrollable storm. She considered apologizing to the girl, but her pride held her back. What if it made things worse? By mid-morning, the girl's father arrived at the school. Unlike what many expected, he didn't storm in demanding answers or causing a scene. Instead, he walked in with calm authority, his presence commanding respect without a single word. The principal, visibly nervous, greeted him and escorted him to the office. The girl's father asked to meet privately with the cafeteria worker, the principal, and the teacher who had witnessed the incident. When the cafeteria worker entered the room, she froze. It wasn't just the man's imposing presence that caught her off guard, it was his face. Recognition flickered in her eyes. This wasn't just any parent. He was someone she had seen before on the news, someone with a reputation for fighting injustice and standing up for those who couldn't defend themselves. Her heart sank as she realized just how serious the situation had become. But what came next was even more unexpected. Before the meeting could begin, the teacher who had reported the incident interrupted. "There's something you all need to see," they said, holding up a tablet. The room fell silent as they played a video recorded by a student in the cafeteria. The footage showed the worker's outburst, but it also revealed something else. Moments earlier, another student had spilled food on the worker, causing her initial frustration. The video added a new layer to the story, raising questions about whether the worker's actions, while wrong, had been entirely unprovoked. The girl's father watched the video closely, his expression unreadable. The new revelation didn't excuse what had happened, but it complicated the narrative. The stakes were higher now, not just about justice for his daughter, but about uncovering the full truth. As the meeting continued, it became clear that this wasn't going to be a straightforward resolution. The cafeteria workers' actions had set everything in motion, but the fallout was spiraling into something much bigger than anyone had anticipated. The room was thick with tension as the video finished playing. The cafeteria worker's face had gone pale, her guilt and embarrassment evident. The principal shifted uncomfortably, caught between the conflicting emotions of anger at the worker's actions and sympathy for the stress she had clearly been under. The girl's father, calm as ever, finally broke the silence. "I believe in fairness," he said, his voice steady. "But fairness also means accountability. What happened to my daughter was unacceptable. However, I'm willing to hear your side of the story." The worker hesitated, her hands trembling. Finally, she spoke, her voice wavering. She admitted to losing her temper, but explained the series of events that had led up to her outburst. The spilled food, the chaotic lunch rush, and her personal struggles outside of work had all pushed her to a breaking point. "I know none of that justifies what I did," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm sorry. Truly. I shouldn't have taken it out on her." The girl's father listened carefully, his expression softening slightly. But before he could respond, the teacher who had shown the video spoke up again. "There's something else," they said, pulling up another clip. This footage, captured by another student from a different angle, showed something shocking. The spill that had set everything off wasn't accidental. A group of older students had deliberately knocked the tray over, laughing as they walked away. The worker, unaware of this, had been left to deal with the mess, which fueled her frustration. The revelation shifted the focus entirely. The cafeteria worker's actions were still wrong, but now it was clear she wasn't the only one at fault. The principal promised to address the behavior of the older students, ensuring they faced consequences for their role in the incident. The girl's father, seeing the bigger picture, turned to the worker. "What you did hurt my daughter, but I can see you've learned from this," he said. "I hope this becomes a lesson for everyone here, not just about controlling anger, but about understanding the impact of our actions." The meeting ended with a sense of resolution, though not in the way anyone had expected. The cafeteria worker apologized directly to the girl, who, in her quiet way, accepted it with grace. But as the father and daughter left the school, a final twist lingered. Unknown to everyone, the incident had been captured in its entirety by another student and uploaded online, where it was quickly gaining attention. By the time they got home, the video had gone viral, sparking a larger conversation about accountability, forgiveness, and the unseen pressures people face. The father smiled faintly as he looked at his daughter. "Sometimes, the smallest moments can teach the biggest lessons," he said, and as they closed the door behind them, they both knew this wasn't just a story about a cafeteria. It was a story about people, choices, and the power of understanding. In the days that followed, the school worked quickly to address the situation. The older students responsible for intentionally causing the spill were disciplined, and a new policy was introduced to ensure better oversight in the cafeteria. The worker was given a formal warning, but also offered support through counseling to help her manage stress both at work and in her personal life. She accepted it gratefully, knowing she had been given a chance to grow from her mistake. In the days that followed, the school worked quickly to address the situation. The older students responsible for intentionally causing the spill were disciplined, and a new policy was introduced to ensure better oversight in the cafeteria. The worker was given a formal warning, but also offered support through counseling to help her manage stress both at work and in her personal life. She accepted it gratefully, knowing she had been given a chance to grow from her mistake. The girl, though shaken at first, found herself surrounded by kindness from classmates who had witnessed the incident. Her quiet strength during the ordeal had left an impression on everyone, and her father's composed approach to resolving the conflict became a lesson for many. "You handled that so calmly," one teacher told her father during a follow-up meeting. "Most people would have let their anger take over, but you chose to listen." He smiled, responding simply, "Understanding each other is the only way forward." As for the video that had gone viral, it sparked a broader conversation online about how small moments of frustration can spiral into larger consequences. Many praised the father for his measured response and the girl for her resilience. Others reflected on the importance of kindness and patience, especially in high-pressure environments like schools. In the end, the incident became a turning point for everyone involved. The cafeteria worker began treating students with more care, the school tightened its approach to student behavior, and the girl found herself walking through the halls with her head held higher than ever. Her father's quiet wisdom had not only resolved the conflict, but had left behind a powerful reminder. Even in the face of conflict, compassion and understanding can turn a difficult situation into an opportunity for growth.